Good morning, everyone. We will get started in a couple of moments. We're just going to give an opportunity for everyone to join who signed up to join us today. But just a little bit of housekeeping before we do kick off. If you have any questions as we go through today's session, please use the Q&A over the chat function. So if you could use the Q&A box, that would be great, and I will do my best to get to all of your questions either as we go throughout today's session or towards the end of it. But whilst we're just waiting for a few more people to join before we kick off, please do kind of prepare yourself to get the most out of today's webinar. So make sure you're in a comfortable space, that your phone's on silent so you don't have any distractions and you can actually focus on what we're discussing today. Make sure you've got your tea, coffee, biscuits, whatever it is you need for probably about the next 40 minutes to an hour. And like I said, leave all your questions and comments in the Q&A box. That would be great. So we'll give everyone one more minute before we get started, and then we'll go through today's session on virtual interview success together. Okay, we're gonna get started. I think everyone is here who said they were going to be here. So it's an absolute pleasure to be here with you again this month. So if this is your third session with us, thank you ever so much for coming back. And if this is the first time you're joining us for one of these career chats, it's lovely to have you with us today. So today's topic is all about virtual interviews and how to really make the most of that kind of odd environment, okay, of the virtual interview. Very different, or can be very different from that face-to-face experience that most of us have been through at some point in our careers. Now, we absolutely love your feedback. We'd love you to get social with us. So if you could hashtag AcademyXI or at Academy_XI on Instagram, and also join our communities on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn if you haven't already. And if you could drop in the chat, let us know where you are joining us from today. It'd be lovely to know where you're all dialing in from as we go throughout today's session. Like I said, as we go through today's session, have any questions, pop them in the Q&A box and I will get to them as I can, either as we go through the session or at the end. So today, what I am going to be covering with you is how to prepare for a Zoom interview or Teams interview or Meet interview, depending on what platform they're using. The principle is the same. We're gonna go through 5 top tips on interview success, and we're also going to go through how to craft interview answers to maximize their impact. And we're going to use a formula called CARL, which you may or may not have heard of before. I know STAR is a really popular one, but I just thought I'd give you a slightly different tool today to play around with and consider for your interview prep. So video interviews are becoming the standard these days in most industries. Not only are they more cost effective than an in-person interview, they also take a lot less time for both parties, right? So you don't have to travel to the interview and get to the office, and you don't have that stress of being on time and working out public transport and where to park. but then also for the people or person interviewing as well, it's far more efficient for them also. So they are here to stay. I don't think there's something that's going to go away. But video interviews require some different preparation steps to the traditional face-to-face interviews. Like I said, most of us at some point have been through in our careers. And maybe you're wondering how to maintain good eye contact, or how to make sure your audio comes through really clearly, or how to kind of get that lighting right, so you look good on camera. And today we're just going to go through a few things to help you with that. So the first thing, research is such a key part of the preparation process for a virtual interview and an in-person interview. So if you haven't already done plenty of research on the position, the company, and the employees before you apply for the role, now is the time to start doing that research between when they offer you that interview and when the interview comes around. So make the most of the critical time you have. Learn what you can about the organization, their values, their people, and keep digging. Study the job posting inside and out. Make sure you're really familiar with it so you can talk to it in the interview, so you can craft your answers to the questions they ask, knowing what the expectations are of that role, knowing what they are looking for. So I recommend saving the job advert or position description and highlight keywords in it that show up multiple times throughout the advert. Maybe paste the advert wording off the internet into a Word document, because sometimes the adverts expire and then actually you can't access them anymore, and that would be such a shame if, like, the day before your interview you actually can't see the job advert anymore. So come up with a system that works for you to be able to keep that information, so you can go through it and critically review it and look at, okay, what are the things they're really looking for? What are the phrases that keep coming up? What are the themes in that position description that are more likely they're going to ask you questions about? Also find out who will be interviewing you. So normally when you get invited to an interview, you'll get confirmation of who is going to be there, who are going to be the people you are meeting. So if that person or those people have LinkedIn pages, study their LinkedIn pages, learn what they do for the company, look at the content they are posting and see what their interests are professionally. So have a look about, what is their career? What are they doing for the organization? Where does their role fit into potentially the role that you're going into? Have a look at the content they're posting to understand what is interesting to them, what is engaging to them. Study the company's website. So make sure you understand their mission, their vision, and their values. Quite a lot of organizations now have a really good kind of working with us or careers page as part of their website, where they go through their values, what they look for in their team members. They share kind of those insights around, what do their team members get to do? So spend some time looking through their website to understand them. And hopefully there is some detailed information on there. Like I said, more and more organizations are doing this, so take the time. And if you can show your interviewer that you have done your research, it will prove to them that you are serious about the position and the company. So don't skip this step, even if you're really short on time. So even if you've only got a day's notice of an interview, don't skip this step at all. Have a play around on their company website, re-look at their job advert, find out who's interviewing, have a look on LinkedIn and those individual LinkedIn pages as well. And if you can, the information you pick up, weave those into your answers. That's going to be really helpful throughout the interview for you. So the next step is all about setting yourself up for success the day before. So prepare for the interview the night before the interview. Get everything ready, including what you are going to wear. So choose something that you would wear to an in-person interview. Because it's a video interview, you want to stick to more neutral colors, something that's not going to be too distracting, or something that is not something that's not really going to wash you out. So be mindful of, what are those outfits? What is the good choices for you? However, you do want to still show your personality. So don't be afraid to add a pop of color or to show your personality through how you dress. You can add jewel tone colors because those translate really well on camera as well. Print out your resume and the job posting, or at least have it up on your screen in front of you, 2 screens. And that's how I operate, 2 screens. So you might see my eyes dying above it. That's just me just checking both screens so that you can see what I think you can see. So work on a system that works best for you. If you someone that would prefer to, write stuff out and have pen and paper in front of you, or can you operate on that 2 screen system? So have your resume and the job posting at hand. You can occasionally glance at these as your notes to help you through the interview as well. And you may, like I said, may even want to have a pen and paper in front of you so you can make notes. You should also prepare a list of questions that you want to ask the interviewer. So interviews can be quite nerve-wracking. The unusual situations for us to put ourselves into, I like to think of them as just a conversation between 2 or 3 or 4 people, depending on how many people are on the panel, of exchange of information or getting to know each other. You are there to interview them and get to know them just as much as they are wanting to get information out about you. You're wanting to try and understand, do you want to work for this business? Do you want to work for these people? Can that person in front of you, do you think they can be your leader? Are they going to be good at leading you? Are they going to support you in the way that you want to be supportive? Are they going to create the right environment to get the best out of you? And the same way, they're asking you questions to understand what your technical skill is, what you can bring to the organization, and what your point of difference is. So do make sure you have the questions you need to ask that interview panel ready to understand whether or not, would you say yes if they offered you the job? Are you going to have enough information to make that decision of if it is the right move for you? So pre-plan those questions before the interview, okay? Your environment. So a question has come up in the chat. Should we have a virtual background for a virtual interview? So pick the right setting for your interviews, okay? If you don't have a home office space like I do, try as much as you can to have a plain background or use the blur filter as your background. Now, I'm not a massive fan of virtual backgrounds in the sense of like having a picture behind you, because sometimes they don't work all too well. And if you talk like me with your hands and you start moving your hands about, sometimes your hands kind of disappear because you've got a virtual background on. So if you can get one to work really well in your setting, absolutely fine. Use a background as a picture. If not, just blur your background. Interviews in your bedroom are okay, all right? It happens. We don't all have an abundance of space at home. We don't all have the perfect environment for virtual interviews. But please, 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 please make sure that there was no one else in the room with you. If you can, I have seen it before where partners have still been sleeping in the bed while they're having a virtual interview. So avoid that at all costs. So if you can be in a space that is your space and you're not going to have distractions, you're not going to have people behind you, that is the best way to be. And I know you may laugh about having people in bed behind them while they're on virtual interviews, but it happens. So choose a location that looks professional and somewhere you are not going to be distracted. If you can, it is best to place yourself in natural light. So if you have a large window, you want to pick the light that helps you be seen on the camera and doesn't wash you out too much. Don't get overly hung up on lighting. You don't need to go and buy light rings and, have a really fancy setup. But if you can, you don't want to be in a place that is really dark, all right? So you do want to have some light so you can be seen clearly on the camera. If you decide you want to do your virtual interview on your phone, which I don't recommend. If you can do it on your laptop or your desktop, but if you are going to do it on your phone, make sure you have a stand for your phone, okay? Because you don't want to be holding your phone for the entire time of an interview. Some interviews can go over an hour, and trying to hold your phone for that length of time is going to be really difficult. So have it at a good height, have the camera at a good height, and have it in a position where you are not required to hold it. So just to recap, no distractions. So no people walking about in the background while you're trying to do your interview. A professional background. If you don't have a space where it's a good background, use the blurred filter and try and have as much natural light as possible. So we've just got a few more questions that have come in. Is it okay to read from written notes? It is okay to read from written notes. You want your interview answers to sound as natural and or as authentic as possible. And I do recommend, take notes to an interview. It's perfectly fine to do that. But you don't want to come across as though you're reading a script. Generally speaking, however you prepare yourself for an interview, they're not necessarily, an interviewer is unlikely to ask you a question with the exact wording to which you've practiced to it. So having notes that are too structured, that are something for you to read out verbatim, might actually really throw you off if then the interviewer asks you a question in a slightly different way. I hope that helped. If it didn't, pop another question in and I'll see if I can answer that for you. I struggle with interviews and coming across as being very nervous. Reading makes it easier, but it feels unprofessional. Okay, yeah, no, I understand that reading your notes makes it feel easier, and those nerves, they are so natural, okay? Interviewers are used to having nervous people in front of them, and hopefully you've had some really good experiences where you've had some amazing interviewers that have done their best to pop you at ease. There are other techniques. So taking just 3 deep breaths, like if those nerves really start to raise it and you're struggling to, keep your voice at an even pitch, just take 3 simple breaths. They won't notice. You don't have to fill all of the silence, but having your notes is absolutely fine. But just making sure that your notes are flexible enough to not throw you off if they ask a question in a slightly different way to what you've practiced it. Check your technology in advance for the interview. So we've done it today. We do it before every session. Okay, so as an academy team, we generally jump online 20 minutes before we go live to make sure the slides are working, the chat's working, and everything is how it should be. And it is no different for an interview. I'm not saying be 20 minutes early because they will know you're in the waiting room, but you want to check in advance that your technology is all set up. So ideally the day before if you can, so you don't have that stress in the morning. So check you have the right program downloaded for your interviews. Are they using Zoom? Are they using Teams? Are they using Google Hangouts? Are they using GoToMeetings? Or what is the technology the company is using? And make sure you have everything you need downloaded on your laptop, your desktop, or your phone, as we've discussed, so you are ready to go. So you don't have to download something, okay? Check you have all the required links from the organization. So often I hear that people, 5 minutes before go into the invite and they find out they don't actually have the link for the interview. It happens. It's a common human error. So do check that you have the right links for your virtual interview. Ideally check that a few days before and then just drop them a really polite note if you don't have it, saying, hey, I don't have the link for the virtual interview that we've got on X, Y, and Z date. They might say to you, oh, we only send it out a day before, we only send it out a couple of hours before, and that's fine, but at least you know it's coming. Make sure your earpods or whatever type of headset you're using is fully charged, okay? There is going to be nothing worse than halfway through a virtual interview, your sound drops out, okay? So make sure everything is fully charged and ready to go. If you need to share your screen, which is so common for an interview in UX UI, and as you know, that's one of the training programs that Academy offers. Generally speaking, there is a presentation part where you get to go through your portfolio. So if you do need to share your screen for the interview, for example, walking someone through your portfolio, make sure you have everything open and ready to go. You don't want to be looking through files, trying to find the right thing to open up when it gets to that stage. So make sure you have it already and it's just a click of a button and it's going to be there. And also close all unneeded internet tabs and applications. So if your desktop is like mine and you normally have 100 tabs open on the internet, and you're on Slack and Facebook Messenger or whatever it may be, and you're going to have distractions and things pinging away, just close everything down. Just have what you need open on your laptop that you require for that interview. You can open everything else up afterwards, but for your interview, just make sure you have what you need open. Okay, so another question's come through. Should we ask about career progression and interview? Would it make us look uninterested in the current role? Not at all. I think it's really important through the interview process to find out what growth and development opportunities there are within the organization. Generally speaking, interviewers will ask a question around like, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? Or how does this role fit into your career plans? So it's completely natural to ask, if I was successful in this role, what is that going to look like, in a year, 2 years, 3 years time? Or if it's a junior role you're going into, asking about, what mentorship and learning and development is in place to support your continued growth within an organization. So not a problem to ask that question at all. Okay. Body language. So body language on a Zoom interview is not too dissimilar to that of a face-to-face interview. You want to sit up straight. You don't want to be slouching. You don't want to be swinging around on your chair. I've had people do this. Makes people feel a bit seasick. So don't be doing that. So you want to sit up straight as much as you can. You want to make eye contact. And eye contact on a Zoom interview, and I've noticed I haven't been very good at it today, is actually a bit strange. Because to do that, you need to look at your camera, which means they're not looking at the people who are on your screen. So if your setup's like mine, my camera is above my screen. And to look at your faces, not that I can see them, but to look at my slides, I have to look slightly down. But if I want to make eye contact, I need to look directly at my camera, and then I can't see so much of what's going on my screen. So make eye contact where you are, where you can, but just be aware that it is a little bit more challenging via a virtual interview. It's not a massive problem, but do your best every now and then when you're talking to look up and look directly at your camera instead of your lovely face on your screen in front of you. If you normally talk with your hands, don't be afraid to do this on a video interview either. As you've probably guessed, I talk with my hands. I've done it a lot throughout today's session. Don't be afraid to do that in a virtual interview as well. It's part of your personality. Smile and bring high energy if you can, okay? Yes, interviews can be quite nerve-wracking, but if you can bring your natural high, lovely energy into a virtual interview, it's going to really help show your personality and your authenticity come through on that screen. So there are a few things you can do. I've known people to do like 5 jumping jacks before they quickly go on the interview. So get yourself in a place where you can actually bring your energy to that meeting. So just a few more questions. I think this is about our previous slide about portfolios. So how to present profile digitally whilst in an interview. I would actually recommend if you are presenting your work, so your portfolio, that you actually have a presentation deck, that you don't necessarily take them through your website, that you have a presentation deck that you can take them through. that shows kind of, I guess, if we're talking about UX UI, that journey, that double diamond journey that you've gone through for some of your projects that you've worked on, and you have it in more of a PowerPoint deck instead of scrolling through your online portfolio, because it is easier. And then also you can skip to the bits, like if you've read the job description well, you're going to have a small understanding or some insight into what is the most important parts of that process that are going to make a real impact, that are going to showcase the skills that you want to showcase for the role in which you are being interviewed for. And having it in a presentation deck just allows you to play around with it a bit more. Okay, so that's it for preparing for your virtual interview. If there are any questions around, the virtual interview setting, drop them in the Q&A now, and I will get to them. We've got plenty of time left on this session, so if you do have any questions or anything else that's kind of concerning you about virtual interviews, please do drop them in the Q&A now. And I'm just going to check the chat box because there are some questions that have come through in there. Also, could just remind you, please use the question and answer. It's just a bit easier for me for them all to be in the same place. So we've got a question here in the chat. Is it wise to check LinkedIn profiles? Interviewers will know. Yeah, interviewers will know, and that is absolutely okay. Check out their profiles. It's not a problem for interviewers to know. It actually shows interest and wanting to know what they're all about. Obviously, don't go onto their profiles 10 times because you can see how often someone's gone on your profile, especially if it's over a period of a couple of days. But yes, actually looking at someone's LinkedIn profile shows interest in the organization, and it's just part of your research process. So yeah, don't worry about it. Is it okay to read from notes? I think I have gone through that, so thank you for transferring that one over to the chat box. Okay, so this is a slightly longer question, so just bear with me. Sometimes non-technical interviewers in the panel ask if I use certain software, say Trim. She asks questions to check my knowledge, ask for examples. Now, examples can be from user side or from a technical side I've experienced. Now, how to check which type of question it is, then you decide the type of example you give. If you're unsure on whether or not they're asking about it from a technical standpoint or the user side, ask them. There's nothing wrong with asking them a question to check clarity around what it is that they're looking for, so you can give the best possible answer. If you don't feel comfortable asking them, just cover both off in the answer you give. Okay. What to do, worst case scenario, if a tech failure happens in a virtual interview? It happens. Don't stress about it. It absolutely happens. Make sure potentially, if you're on your laptop and your laptop crashes, make sure you have their email addresses or phone number easily on your phone, so you can give them a quick call or drop them a text, say, really sorry, X, Y, and Z just happened. It does happen. People are getting more and more used to tech stuff happening. I've had it before where I've been late for student calls, because I've turned on my laptop and it's gone, Microsoft is now going to do an update that takes 40 minutes. It does happen to us all. I would, if you can, make sure you're prepared as possible by downloading and making sure all of your apps are up to date the day before. And if it does happen, worst case scenario, just make sure you have other means outside of your laptop to be able to contact that interview panel, so you can let them know what's going on. What's a good question to ask an employer or the hiring company? They always ask, do you have any questions at the end? They do always ask that. And there is so many good questions. I've actually written a blog on this around, what are the top questions to ask, or what are good questions to ask. So do jump on over onto my LinkedIn profile and have a look at my blog that is there. In terms of crafting questions in interviews or pre-questions, you want to think about, well, what is it do you specifically want to know about the role and the organization to enable you to accept an offer from them? So what is important to you? What are your non-negotiables for an employer or a position? And how can you phrase those into questions if they haven't already been covered off? So you could, if flexible working is really important to you, and it is becoming so common these days, you could ask a question around, oh, I've noticed on your website, they may have something on there. So you could say, I've noticed on your website that you're an organization that supports flexible working. Can you talk me through that, and how would that impact this role? And so have a think about, what are your non-negotiables? What is the information you need to have? And phrase questions that help you make decisions. Is it recommended to use facial features, enhancing features in Teams? I wouldn't. I don't use Teams all that often, but is that kind of like the features we have on Zoom where we can put in extra eyebrows and lipstick and things? I wouldn't use it. I do use touch up appearance on Zoom, but I don't use I guess the facial enhancing features. At some point they're going to meet you. Just be you. It doesn't just be you. If it makes you feel more confident, then use it. But I wouldn't necessarily recommend you go down that route. Okay. So like I said at the beginning, if you do you have any more questions, add them in. What if you have a more serious personality? Should you fake bubbly for an interview? No, don't fake bubbly for an interview. If you are more of a serious person, that is okay. Go to an interview and be yourself. You don't need to be anyone else but yourself, because if you go to an interview and you're not yourself and you get offered the job, and then at some point you're going to be yourself, right? You want to be accepted as yourself. You want someone to offer you the job because of who you are and what you're about and what you bring. Each and every one of you on this call, and every single one of us in the world, we all have a unique point of difference, and we all fit into different teams and different cultures. One job that might be great for me, or organizational culture might be great for me, it might not be great for someone else. So high energy if you can, but you don't need to fake bubbly. Just be yourself. How does one prepare for an unprepared interview? Part of the virtual interview I had required that I record myself answering their 3 questions, which is timed. I really struggled with this because it's quite confronting, recording situations whilst being timed. Oh, yes, it is. I would, with that, so I'm guessing this was kind of like a pre-interview screening kind of situation where you got given, you were on a computer. I think I've seen them before. They give you a link, you go on, you turn on your camera, and then questions pop up on the screen and you have to answer them. So I guess in a way that's probably not that different to an interview, because you never really know what questions they're going to ask you. So you are put on the spot. Just within an interview, you don't have that real you don't have that timer ticking down in the corner, although it could still be there. So I would, with that, go back through the position description, understand the organization, understand the skills and the experience they're asking for, and just really do a brainstorm, or a brainstorm of all the possible stuff that you could share. So you have it, it's fresh in your mind, so you can draw on that information quite quickly. Should we have like more than 5 projects if presenting ourselves in it? Should we have more than 5 projects if presenting ourselves in the interview? I actually wouldn't have more than one project to present in an interview. So if you're talking about presenting your portfolio, I would pick your best or the project that you are most passionate about or most proud of, and have that as the one that you turn into a presentation, and the one that you can highlight different skills and different areas of your capability based on the role in which you are applying for. I hope that answered your question. If not, try again in a slightly different way, but I really do hope that answered it. Absolutely fine. A few people are saying they have to run off. That's fine. Someone says, having 5 interviews for the same company and role seems a bit much, but I'm new to Australia job market. Is this a common process? Well, yeah, unfortunately it is. Some organizations have quite protracted recruitment processes. The most I have heard of is 6 stages, so it's not uncommon. Generally speaking, there is always a reason behind why they have each stage. It's not really common. I would say 3 is probably the most common. So phone interview, technical interview, and cultural fit interview. But yeah, I have had as many as 6 rounds for interviews before, especially in more of the tech space industry, if you are applying for roles in that sector. Okay, so I think that is the questions. If I've missed any, pop them back in the question and answer box and I will get to them. But I wanted to talk you through how to craft answers for maximum impact. And I want to give you a slightly different tool to one, what I've spoken about before on these career chats, and also one that you may not have come across before. It is just as impactful as STAR. But I know you have heard STAR time and time again. So today I thought I'd share an alternative that is equally effective to you. So what CARL stands for is context, action, result, and learning. So context, you would briefly describe the context of your experience. The action, you would explain the action you took. And the result, you would explain what happened as a result of the action you chose to take. And then learning, identifying what you have learned. And this is a section of CARL I really like over STAR, is that learning thing, that ability to show self-reflection and show what you have learned through that experience or that example you were giving in the interview, and potentially what you would do next time or how it's helped you grow and develop as a professional. So quite similar to STAR in the context, action, and result, but that learning piece is very different, and I actually think it's really powerful, especially in the UX UI market. You're never the same designer for long. Every experience adds to the way you design. You learn new things every single day or from every project you're on, and that changes and develops the way you design. So being able to sit back and critically review and reflect upon your experience and what you did is really beneficial. So just a slightly different one for you to play around with outside of STAR, if you kind of want to mix it up, but it is equally as impactful. Okay, all I would say is, if you are going for a job within the government sector, stick with STAR. Generally speaking, they say in their interview packs they do want a STAR answer. If you are interviewing for other organizations, CARL will work perfectly fine. So any more questions on anything we've discussed today? So virtual interview prep or the CARL methodology over STAR? So one's come through. Can you give some tips for the question, how will you handle an how will you handle an unhappy, angry customer? I mean, in face-to-face and telephone, both situations. Okay, so I'm guessing for a competency-based question, it would be phrased with, can you tell me about a time when you've managed a difficult customer, or come across a difficult customer, or come across a difficult stakeholder? And at that stage, so we think about the Carl that's on the screen. So context, what was the situation? So in what environment did you come across this customer? So you could say that there was a stakeholder within the organization that came to you with a really tight deadline for a project. If this happened to you, okay, I'm just going with it here. And 2 days into a 4-day project deadline, they changed the brief. So what action did you take? So for me, the action, if I had been in that situation, would be sitting with the stakeholder, understanding why the brief had changed, why the required output had changed, but also openly discussing with that stakeholder what that meant for that additional, for the 2 days that they had left, how that was going to impact that, and trying to negotiate and come to a new outcome. So the result, so hopefully it's a happy result that the stakeholder, through your communication influencing skills, understood that their change was going to push out the deadline for the project, and that they understood that, and a new project deadline was set that was more realistic to take into account the changes that were required. And then you'd reflect on your learning. So what did you learn through that process? So through that process, you could talk about how you learn to communicate effectively, how you learn to positively push back. So pushing back in a good way to kind of say, no, I understand what you're saying. I see what you're trying to achieve here. Just want to let you know what the changes are, and how that impacts on the wider timeframes that's happening. And you can talk through what other learnings you may have had. We all come across tricky, unhappy, or angry customers at some stage in our career. So think about, well, how have you approached them? How have you handled them? And use a real life example. So, if they do ask you, how would you, think about a situation where you have been in that situation and what did you do, and talk through that. So another, okay, so I've got two. So I've got one in the chat and one in the question box. So just a quick reminder, can you put all your questions in the question box? That would be great. It just makes my life a little bit easier. But the one that's just come through the web chat is, should you apply for a role that you are not 100% qualified for, a role that would be the next step in your career higher than your current role? Do you say that this is higher than your current position, or do you answer questions as if you've already worked in that position and you know what you're doing 100%? You can most definitely apply for positions that you are not 100% qualified for. Generally speaking, we don't tick all of those boxes. No one does. And then in your answers, it's about ensuring that you give examples that are relevant to the position in which you are applying for. At some point through previous jobs, you would have been in different situations. You would have experienced roles that are potentially, even if it was just for a moment or a couple of days, they were a little bit higher than where you were. So you can talk to those and you can use your examples. So it's just making sure you have the right examples to either use in Carl or in STAR, to show your competency and your skills and capabilities for the role in which you're applying for. But yeah, do not be afraid to apply for roles that you don't tick all the boxes for. If it's a role that looks of interest to you, make sure you're tailoring your application for that role, and you're tailoring your cover letter for that role. You're talking to what they're asking for in your cover letter, and demonstrating how you have done those things before. And all the best of luck. Okay, so how soon should I email or follow up after the interview? Like to ask for an update about my application. So if you in the interview, ideally at some stage, hopefully if you haven't forgotten, and it's completely okay if you have forgotten, but hopefully you haven't, you ask what the next stage is. So you can say, it was lovely to meet you today, rather than just wondering what the next steps are from here. Hopefully at that point, the interviewers gave you some indication of timeframes. May that be a week, 2 weeks, or we're going to finish interviewing on Friday and we're hoping to get back to everyone by Monday. And then at that stage, if they've said that you email them on Tuesday. If they haven't given you an indication, I would give them 5 days and then drop them an email and ask them, thank them for their time, let them know that you really enjoyed meeting them, and just see if they have an update for you. Okay. I think that is all the question. Oh, no, there's no one. After following up and receiving a reason for being unsuccessful for the role, should I email back to thank the interviewer for their time and the feedback, or is this unnecessary mail filling in inboxes? If you feel like you want to, go for it. Bridges aren't burnt, right? So if they're an organization that you want to work for in the future, definitely email them back and thank them ever so much for their time, and thank them for their time for providing you feedback. So many organizations don't. So the fact that they've invested the time to give you feedback, I would thank them for that. And then obviously, if you're not already, give them a like or a follow on LinkedIn and stay connected with them, because you actually never know when you may reapply for a role with them. Okay. Any other questions? Oh, we've just had this little comment with 5 days wait is good. After 5 days, they're not interested. Not necessarily. I do understand the point there. But I have had organizations, if they're interviewing you on a Monday, they actually might be interviewing candidates throughout the whole week. And it might take them 5 days to get through all of their interviews, depending on other people's availability. I would say, 2 weeks, then they probably weren't going to tell you either way if you haven't heard from them. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with following up, unless they've given you a different deadline. If they've said to you they're going to get back to you within 2 days of the interview, follow them up in 3 days if you haven't heard from them. Any other questions from anyone? Oh, is it okay to ask for a reschedule for a virtual interview that will turn? Or will that turn? No, it's completely fine to reschedule your interview. Try and give them as much notice as possible. But life happens, okay? People get sick, unexpected things happen. So if you've got if someone's come through with an interview date for you, and it's been a suggested date, if you can't do it, say you can't do it. There's no point putting yourself under pressure or in a situation that's going to be even more heightened from a stress level perspective. If that date and time doesn't work for you, tell them it doesn't work for you and ask for a reschedule. Okay, so what's the take on thank you notes in Australia? They are really big in the US, where I studied, but haven't heard too much about this practice in Australia. Is it appreciated or coming off as over eager? Oh, I think they're actually growing in popularity. There's so many different ways you can do it. So if you haven't, or if you've interviewed with someone and you felt that there was a connection, or you didn't feel there was a connection, but if you did, you don't necessarily need to do a formal email to thank them ever so much for their time. You could potentially then connect with them on LinkedIn saying, oh, it was lovely to meet you today, thank you so much for taking the time to interview me and explore the role or opportunity with me in more detail. They're not as common here, but I wouldn't say it comes off as being over eager. I think it's actually a really polite thing to do if you have the time to do it. But if it's not something that you want to be part of your job search strategy, that's absolutely fine. Everyone has a slightly different strategy. It's what works for you. They're not expected here. So that's kind of, I guess that's the bonus of, if you do it, you're probably going to stand out from everyone else that interviewed, because you would have done something slightly different. So there's no right or wrong to thank you notes. It's really your choice. Okay, well, it's been absolutely lovely hanging out with you all for the last 50 minutes and going through virtual interviews and providing a slightly different methodology for interview success for you to think about. Oh, one more question. Is it okay to drive an interview along yourself if you feel hesitancy or inexperience from the other end? Does this have to be a negative or a positive impact? I don't quite understand the question, Kevin. I'm really sorry. Is there a slightly different way you could potentially phrase that, and then I'll try and give it another go? Oh, you're most welcome, Helen and Ruth. It's been an absolute pleasure having you both with us here today. If you do have any questions or there's anything else I can help you with, just reach out. I'm here to answer questions where I can. Just give Kevin a minute to potentially rewrite his question. But if not, it's been an absolute pleasure being here with you today. I hope you all got something from today's session. I hope there's, just one thing, at least one key thing you've taken away with you to help you feel more confident and more prepared for your next virtual interview. And if anything comes up or you've got any questions or you want to know more about Academy and what we do, just reach out to one of us, and I'll leave you get back on with your days. It's been, like I said, a pleasure, and good luck with your virtual interview success. Yes, and the team has just dropped in the chat a feedback questionnaire, and I would absolutely love your feedback. I do these sessions every second month, so the more feedback I get from you, hopefully the better I can make them for you and the more impactful and the more we can help you with your career journeys. So do take the time to give us some feedback so we can continue to improve upon these lovely free webinars we offer you all. But yes, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your days. Going to close down the session now, so please do take a minute to copy that web link, provide us with your feedback, and yeah, it's been a pleasure, and good luck with your virtual interviews.